Hi, and welcome to the Neoprene Playmat. I'm Matt Piak, your host, and this is our weekly grab bag. So, for this week, I thought it would be especially interesting if I just shared my story about how I got into the hobby and really where it all started for me. Board gaming has been a really big part of my life, and so I thought this story would be at least a good starting point for kind of who I am and what kind of the events that have led up to me getting into the hobby as well as me diving into this channel. So, to begin with, as a young kid, I played a lot of board games, card games, things like Monopoly and Hearts and Old Maid and even War. I remember playing Scrabble with my mom in high school after class, just coming home. But um, really, kind of big my big insurgence into any sort of more complicated game was Magic the Gathering in fifth grade. So I was part of the Boy Scouts, and I remember some of the older guys that were in high school had just all these Magic cards, and they'd bring them on the camping trips we'd go on, and they'd always be playing, and I'd look at the art, and I was always fascinated. I was like, oh, this game looks so cool, especially given my background just playing normal playing cards. I wanted to be a part of this. And so they were nice enough to build us a deck full of commons they didn't want. And so all of us fifth grade Boy Scouts got our own deck of common cards. And at that point, we didn't even know all the rules. I mean, I remember just playing half the game wrong to start out with, but the world that Magic had opened up, it was so intriguing. It was so different from all the Milton Bradley games I had grown up playing. And I think I remember my first deck went through the wash because I left it in my pocket when I when I put my pants in the laundry. So, but that was the start of it. I was super intrigued by the mechanisms. All throughout high school, I played. I was playing in tournaments. I was probably spending way too much money on it, and ultimately near the end of high school, that's when I kind of left playing Magic. It was becoming too expensive. I was playing a lot of video games and just decided, I didn't want to buy all these cards. The buying booster packs and trying to get what you want, um, it got really expensive, and that was before you could order any card you wanted online. I still think it's expensive, but you can at least order the decks you exactly want. But when I was playing back then, it was you were. You were all in financially buying booster packs, hoping to get the cards you wanted, and then trading when you got to tournaments, hoping that you could get the cards you needed for a deck. And so eventually left that, went to went to college, and when I was at college, I found a group of Magic players, and somehow they sucked me back into it. So started ordering my decks. At that point, there was enough of an online market where I was able to buy any cards I needed. So I was just buying one deck at a time, saying, "Oh, this looks like a fun idea. I like making these different card combos. The deck's not too expensive. I'm still not buying booster packs. We'll be good." And so I did that for a while, made some enjoyable decks, got back into the tournament scene a little bit, was playing in standard, had a good time with that. And around the same time, I was also introduced to Settlers of Catan, which is really the major gateway game of my generation, I would say. Played the mess out of Settlers of Catan. I remember it just being so different from anything I'd ever played. This idea that when you're rolling dice or rolling a die, you have other people that are affected by what you roll, and we're all gathering resources. The open trading, that's still something that I don't see a ton in games. It seems like you're either a full negotiation game or there's no sort of trading and interaction in that sense. And so that was really unique, and that was something that I really loved, kind of that experience. And so that led to me playing. I don't know. I've probably played Settlers of Catan legitimately 150 times, 160 times. We played it all the time in college. We also really got into euchre at the time, which is just it's a trick taking game with a normal 52 card deck, although you don't use all 52 cards. But that was really big. And then I was introduced to Ticket to Ride, once again, one of the main gateway games, right? And so I ended up taking kind of those games with me. I purchased them, and those kind of became some of the staples that I would bring out with friends, dive into these different experiences. But at the time, I was really a video gamer. That was what I did with a lot of my extra time. I was investing tons and tons of hours into PC gaming. Um, and so as I got older, I got into master's work, and I also just the level of PC gaming went through the roof. I was playing League of Legends all the time. I was really into it, and then I started noticing that in my relationships, I started saying no to hanging out with my friends so that I could go online to play games, and started thinking about that. And I was like, is this what I want? Is this the type of lifestyle I'm interested in, where I'm saying no to my friends in order to get an online gaming experience? And I think for some people, having that introvert time is good, but for myself, I'm very extroverted. I get energy from being around people, and so I started noticing that it really played into my mental health when I'm telling all my friends, no, I don't really want to hang out with you because I'm playing League of Legends or playing. There's a game back then called Global Agenda that I played all the time. Loved that game. It's too bad it's not supported anymore, but and I realized I need to make some form of change in my life. And at the time, I didn't have a ton of money. I was in grad school and was working three jobs and didn't have a ton of money, but I had a tax return coming up. And so I made this decision. I was like, well, I remember Settlers of Catan. I remember Ticket to Ride. At this point, I had also purchased Small World and Arkham Horror, thanks Barnes and Noble. Always making those games accessible. So I had a taste of this hobby board game industry, but I wasn't just deep in it yet. And so when I got my tax return back, I was like, I'm gonna go on a hiatus from board or from video gaming. I'm gonna be done. I'm just gonna quit cold turkey, and I'm gonna try and enjoy gaming experiences with my friends. I'm gonna order games. So I got this check in the mail, and I put it in the bank, and I was like, all that money is going to board games. Probably not the most responsible thing, but at the time, I'm in grad school, I'm looking for fun. I'm also looking for something to kind of pull me away from the video game, so I thought this was perfect. So this is when I started watching the Dice Tower. It's 2012. I'm getting into all these reviews and really trying to pick. I only have X amount of dollars. It's looking like I'm going to be able to buy about four games, so somewhere around $200. And I'm looking, I'm trying to figure out which big box games are for me. And I was like, I got to get stuff that's different from what I have and that's different from each other, so that I can get as many experiences as I can, because I'll only have, 8, 9 board games to choose from. And so with that check, I ended up buying uh, Ghost Stories, which is still one of my favorite games. It is one of the most difficult co-ops I've ever played. Um, but oh my gosh, it feels so good when you win. It's tight. The theme is interesting. You're Taoist monks running around a village trying to exorcise ghosts, and there's this Wu Fang incarnation that's kind of the head honcho that you have to defeat. If you haven't seen it, that game, man, it's Antoine Bauza, same guy that did Seven Wonders. It's fantastic. So that's Ghost Stories. There's a re-implementation out called Last Bastion. I haven't played that yet, but um, man, is that good. So I ordered that game. I got that. I got Kemet, which Kemet is this. It's kind of it's an area control game. The thing that was really interesting about Kemet to me is, one, there's these tiles that are special abilities that you gain throughout the game that make you unique from all of the other players. And so every game you play, you can kind of go down a different route. It's almost like a tech tree where you're designing how you're going to play. So that was intriguing to me. And then the other thing that was super intriguing that I'd never seen was the way the board was laid out. Every player was the same number of spaces away from every other player. So you don't have this thing where there's three people on one side of the map that are closer together than these other two that are on the other side of the map. Everybody is just as close to one another. You can attack whoever you want, and you can travel however you want to attack those people. And so the way that board was created was just super unique. So I was like, I gotta pick this one up. And then I got Mystery Express, which is an old Days of Wonder game. It's great. You're on a train. Somebody's been murdered. You're trying to figure it out. It's kind of like Advanced Clue. I play a decent amount of deduction games, not necessarily social deduction, but games where you're trying to find these clues. And I think Mystery Express is an underrated game that really delivers an interesting experience. It's a little bit on the longer side, um, but the main twist is, in Clue, you have to figure out what things are missing because they're in the envelope, right? You have this person, the weapon in the room. You have to go around and you're trying to figure out which items can you not find because those are what's in the envelope. The twist on it here is that there's two of every single item that are out there. So you're not only ruling out one item, but you have to make sure there's two of everything. And so um, it just requires a lot of brain power. It's so fun trying to figure those things out. It's one I haven't played in quite a while, but it still sits on my shelf. You might hear me talk about it in the future, but it's definitely a good one. And then I got Evo Second Edition, which is this game of evolving dinosaurs. There's a little bit of an auction mechanic. There's some area control. You're moving around and you're trying to evolve your dinosaurs the best you possibly can before an asteroid hits. So I thought these four games were super different from one another. They seemed engaging. They seemed like something I would want to bring to the table. And that's really what sparked everything off for me. Um, I got these four games in. I arranged times with friends. I was like, guys, we should hang out. I got these new games. Let's try it. And from then on, we were hooked. We were playing games, and it was different than now because now a lot of times I'll play a game and I immediately want to move to the next game. I have my collection is sitting right around 200. I try and keep it there because if I have more than 200, there's no way I'm playing everything on my shelf. Right now, I'm not even playing everything on my shelf, but some of the games just don't have enough value to get rid of them through a trade or something like that. And I don't necessarily have somebody to give it to that would find value in it. But it's beside the point. A lot of times now I'm playing games two or three times maximum before I move on to a new game. At that time, it was like, let's play this thing as many times as we can. I particularly remember an experience where a friend and myself decided that we were going to two-hand Ghost Story. So each of us are playing two characters, right? So it's essentially like a four-player game, but there's only two of us, and we were determined to beat the hardest difficulty in Ghost Stories. Now, if you've ever played Ghost Stories, the medium base level, even the easy version, can be difficult to win and relies on a certain amount of luck for things to work out correctly. So we were a little bit ambitious, a little bit crazy for deciding to try the hardest version of Ghost Stories out there. Right? There's multiple Wu Fang incarnations, so you're killing multiple bosses. It's incredibly difficult to make sure everything works out. And so we just made it our mission. We were going to defeat the hardest level. We must have played this game 50 or 60 times before we were able to beat it. We just kept running it back every single weekend, Saturday after Saturday. We were getting together. We were playing Ghost Stories like probably 6 or 7 times in one afternoon. Mostly just getting torched, mostly just dying horrible deaths, not even getting halfway through the deck of ghosts. And but I look back, and that's what drew me in. That's what brought me into this hobby. It was this idea that you could have an entire afternoon with friends doing something that was engaging, that was fun, that was challenging. And you could either work together or you could try and outsmart the other people at the table. There's this social dialogue that video games just never really gave me. And trust me, I'm not out here trying to be against video games in any way. Since then I've gone back and I play some video games here and there. I think it's definitely a good thing to do by yourself, or even I'm a big fan of couch co-ops and things of that nature. Um, but the board gaming experience was something different. It was so social. It just felt different than playing video games. And it felt good for me as an extrovert to be in a space where we could have fun together. I think a lot of times in today's world, adults don't have enough fun. And so to be part of a hobby that promotes fun, that promotes getting to the table with friends, it means so much to me. It's such a big part of my life at this point. And so that's kind of how I got into the hobby. That was 2012. Now we're in 2020. I've been slowly buying games up. I know I don't have the budget some people do to fill their walls with games, but I feel like I've played a fair amount of games. I've definitely taken to the hobby. I listen to tons of podcasts. I'm on YouTube all the time, just watching what's coming out, watching reviews, watching playthroughs, heavily engaged. But this hobby, what it comes down to is this is a way that creates moments to be with people, and to have fun with people. And that's a rare combination, especially with something that's so engaging and so affordable. I know people complain about the cost of games sometimes, which is wild, and we'll get into this in some of my videos. But I always go back to if you pay $50 for a game, you have four people playing that game for 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that, maybe even only 1 hour. If you did it for only 1 hour, that's like $12.50 a person, and you have that game for the rest of your life. You could play it again, and then it's like $6.25 a person. That math is not correct. I'm just doing quick math here, but maybe it is correct. I don't know. You tell me. Um, but this hobby, it produces such great moments, things that it keeps pulling me back in to have fun, to be with people, to bring new experiences to new people. And so that's where this channel comes from. That's where sharing the hobby in this way comes from, and that's really what's driving me. Is how do we bring everybody together in a way that we can all have fun together. And so I invite you to continue with me on this journey with this channel. I'm super excited about continuing to share my thoughts on games. I'm super excited to see what sort of ideas you have, critiques you have. We're definitely going to be opening some conversations that might be a little controversial. So I'm super excited to hear what gaming has done for you. Maybe how you got in the hobby. You can put that down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Neoprene Playmat. Keep playing games, guys.